All right, I think I'm live. Welcome, guys. Welcome back. Apologize for the tardiness. If you guys can't tell, if I look like a hot mess right now, that is because my AC doesn't work yet again. If you guys remember last year, it was like the same time this shit happened. Oh, God. Whatever. Yeah, so I'm probably going to be sweating my ass off this whole stream. Cody Moose says, this statement is in direct conflict with the Snopes TM verified fact checkers deemed the United States is technically not in a recession with the updated definition of the word recession. Yes, I saw today how Chappelle, good old Chairman Powell, Chappelle, said that he doesn't believe that the U.S. is in a recession. And I saw Janet Yellen talking about it last week and essentially how they have kind of like redefined, like push the goal down a little bit further as to what a recession is. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think about that. You have violated your streaming terms and conditions smart contract and have been deducted 25 good boy tokens from my wallet. Oh, dude, what am I going to do? What am I going to do with 25 less good boy tokens deducted from my wallet? Like, what am I going to do now, guys? I can't even afford a Coke Zero with that 25 less good boy tokens from my wallet. What am I going to do? You mean I can't consume my toxic sludge? I guess I should talk about the topic. All right. So before I get too off on a tangent here and talk to you guys. All right. So today I'm going to show you guys an article brought up to me by a viewer from the stream, Mr. Good Old Max Denitas. And the article was, well, you know what? Better yet that I just show you guys. Essentially, guys, this article is talking about what careers are currently have the most job security right now, okay? This article is from May, all right? May 2021. However, I think it's still, like, the sentiment is still kind of the same, okay? Because we just came out of what? The COVID thing. A lot of people got laid off. All kinds of just mayhem was going on, right? I remember all that. I'm sure you guys do. So let's go through one or two of these first. And before I catch up with you guys, apologize because I'm a little bit out of sync here from being late. Okay, so it was talking in here about how, like, okay, the last couple of years, or the last year has been a roller coaster. Lots of people were filing for unemployment. You guys remember that? The USD airdrops, right? Everybody was all, hey, why am I going to work my normal job when, like, I can quit and get paid more from unemployment than just working my normal job, right? Which, I mean, that kind of makes sense, right? Like, I kind of can't blame people that were doing that. I guess at that point, it's just kind of like a, you know, what are your moral obligations, right? And if your moral obligations aren't like, hey, I have to work, I have to contribute, and that doesn't bother you, then that at that point, if you were just going to default to logic, like, hey, I'm going to not work my regular job, and if I'm going to get this unemployment and it's more money than my regular job, 1 + 1 = 2. Thank you very much. Makes sense, right? So, I mean, I get it, right? And then we had like the healthcare worker shortage, etc. And if you guys remember the Black Swan event of March 2020, we had like the market crash, which isn't really a crash anymore compared to like the percentage wise compared to how far down we've come from at least the top in the markets recently, right? So, and why does that matter? Why is that important? Well, what happened when that was going on? And prior to, right, like companies were laying people off whenever they heard about the shutdowns, like almost immediately, right? We saw, if you guys know Josh Fluke, on his channel, he had posted a lot of like recorded Zoom calls where these companies were like firing people en masse, right? And then obviously when the markets were going to go down, companies are going to get a little bit more fearful, especially companies that, quite frankly, like weren't deemed to be, well, let's just say it like this. If you guys remember, there was like several sectors of employment that were deemed to be like necessary, and then the rest was like, if you're going to survive, that's fine. If you can't survive, then whatever, right? I think you guys know what I mean, right? You guys remember that? I'm not crazy, am I? You guys remember that too, right? Alex says, yo, DD, what up, dude? Good to see you tonight. Yes, sweaty stream inbound indeed. Do you really think so, Chris? You really think so? As I slurp my Kirk Zero. Like, okay. I used to think that Diet Coke was better. And then I started drinking Coke Zero. And now I can't go back. I used to think Coke Zero was disgusting. But then at one point it was like the only thing that was available, or the most readily available one. So I just started buying Coke Zero whenever I got a Coke instead of Diet Coke. And now Diet Coke to me is like disgusting. However, that being said, I can't drink regular Coke because like to me regular Coke is disgusting. And that's been the case for me since I started drinking Diet Coke as opposed to just like regular soda, right? I think it's just because like I believe, guys, that like as far as like if you can detect the levels of like tastes in your palate and your taste buds in your tongue, like on paper, supposedly, I'm no Diet Coke scientist. On paper, because of sucralose and like the fake sugar, the artificial sweetener that they use, like the actual amount of sweetness is like way more than what like a regular Coke is. So that's probably reason number one, right? I'm probably getting way more dopamine from drinking the Diet Coke or Coke Zero than a regular Coke. But also, I think just like I think you become like addicted to the taste of like sucralose of all these fake sugars. I think. I don't know. And yes, good evening to you too. Thank you. You're drinking a Diet Coke right now. All right, dude. Cheers. 0 calorie Coke gang. Cheers. I try not to drink it that much, but like if I'm ever really hungry and I already eaten like a meal, I know I shouldn't be eating anything like tasty after. I kind of drink like a Diet Coke or a Coke Zero because it kind of just like curbs the sweet tooth. Hey, lesser of both evils, right? I believe there's no size like that in California. This is a goddamn tall boy Coke Zero, dude. If you guys ever had a diddly tall boy Coke Zero, god dang, shoo. That's a tall boy, isn't it? What about you, Christian? You're in Arizona, dude. Do you guys have tall boy Coke Zeros or tall boy Diet Cokes? Well, okay, try it, but don't drink a bazillion of them. I'm not here trying to advocate for it. But I mean, if you're gonna drink one to kind of like curb your like sweet tooth or whatever, yeah, drink a Diet Coke instead of a regular Coke. But if you're actually trying to like reward yourself because hey, maybe you killed it this week and you did everything you're supposed to do, you got all your work done, you killed in the gym, and you're just trying to have like a cheat meal, you can have like a regular Coke. I would, because at least it's natural, right? Me too, Alex. Me too. LaCroix, man. Yeah. I was just thinking that in the last sip that I took, actually, Christian. It is a little flat. It is, my friend. It is. Okay, so yeah, back to the article, guys. And Mr. Max Nitas provided this distinguished article because, he was like, hey, this is kind of one of the things you talk about. And I align with some of the things they're saying here. So you guys might be surprised at some of the things in here, right? At some of the 20 of these careers. And we don't have to go through all of them. And I noticed, guys, there's 29 slides on this. And there's like 20. So I think maybe some of these might be ads or there might be some bonuses in there. But what do we have here? So, and also, I want to note, I looked prior to, and I couldn't really see if there's any kind of like order to any of these. So I don't think any of these are in kind of like specific order, okay? So this physician's assistant isn't like number 1, and it's also not number 20. At least I don't think so, okay? It could be. But physician's assistant. And it gives you like the median salary, and the master's degree. And by the way, guys, too, so people don't get twisted, because the median and then average are two different things. Okay? Don't forget that. Average is what? The average is when you take, so if I have 10 different numbers, I take them all together and add them, and then I divide it by 10. That's the average. The median, is the one in the middle, okay? So like literally like the range in the middle. It's actually not exactly what it is, but I think closest way I can explain it to you guys without getting you guys too confused. So yeah, obviously physician's assistant. And I think a lot of that had to do with the coronavirus, right? And they're even saying in here in the article that yes, that was the case. However, there was apparently a shortage of medical workers prior to even that. So what was one of the things we learned when the COOF PAND3MDIC happened? Well, if you were in the medical field, you most likely weren't having any kind of issues, right? And I know Gerard in the chat can probably contest to that, although you might have had more work than you wanted to at the time. But hey, more work is better than no work, right? Another one. Yes, a distinguished one. And look at this. Here's our average software developer here. Guys, if you didn't know. So, yeah, software developer. It says education required bachelor's degree. Obviously, that's not true. I mean, we know that. But anyway, we'll let them think. Shh. But what does it say about software developers? Well, it's talking about how they already had good job prospects prior to, right? And it was stating that when the God, I can't say that word. When the PAND3MIC happened, it didn't slow too much down for them because, like, hey, you could already do you could do this work remote. You didn't have to be in an office, right? You weren't like waiting on tables. It wasn't required you to be in a physical location. And in all honesty, like a large percentage of people in the tech field, even before the COOF happened, were already working remote, right? So that I don't think that changed too much. What does it say here? Oh, yeah. Cloud computing. Forgot about that. Cody Moose and the Hoos. You might appreciate that one. So it's stating that it's going to be even more of like a demand because everything's going to be moving to the cloud, right? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we know. Monster Zeros are my vice, TBH. I had one of those this morning. Coke and Jack. Jack and Coke. Schman Schmimic. Yes, Schmam Schmimic. Schmam Schmimic. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Schmam Schmimic. So that didn't really end up being like a big deal for like the Schman Schmimic, right? And I want you guys to notice too that there's going to be a theme of like there's going to be two prominent fields that the theme for these most recession-proof, quote unquote recession-proof jobs have been. Okay, so we saw what? A physician's assistant. That's medical field, and we also saw what just now? Software developer. That's the IT field. All right. So hint, wink, wink. What is the next one they say? Oh, excuse me, a distinguished advertisement. I think we should push past that. Yes, nurse practitioner. So basically kind of the same thing, right? We're in the medical field. And it says here that even this was already in high demand even prior to the Schman Schmimic. Thank you, Roy, for Schman Schmimic pilling me. But it says nurse practitioners in 22 states and the District of Columbia, they were authorized to provide independent direct care to patients. So I'm assuming that means like going to either that means like going to their homes or that they could kind of act as, and I don't hope I'm not wrong about this. I'm just making an assumption here. Okay. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about because I'm not in the medical field, but I'm assuming that means that they could act kind of like as the doctor. If there was a shortage, like they could just have direct, maybe they can't prescribe medications, but maybe they could kind of act as a doctor. And if the doctor was needed to prescribe some kind of medication, then they could consult with the doctor afterwards and or the patient could too. I don't know. But it says New York and New Jersey have also expanded the ability of these professionals to provide frontline care. Okay, so that is, okay, I think I was right about that. I think. So, okay, another medical field, right? So I mean, I think that the medical field we can say is like about as recession-proof as it gets, right? Because okay, even if, and let's just say even if there wasn't a like Schman Schmimic, even if people weren't getting sick, even if we weren't in like a current health crisis, people are always going to get sick. People are always going to get injured. People are always going to need medication. People are always going to get boo-boos. Car accidents are always going to happen, more so now than ever before for whatever reason. But that's a conspiracy theory. But you know, like, what if I think I've used the plumber poop on the ceiling analogy before, so I'll say that again, and I'll try to compare that to this medical field right here, and the situation that the medical field is a pretty solid field to be in. no matter what. So if you have a house and you don't know how to fix the plumbing, you don't know how to use any kind of tools, you don't even know like how like piping systems and plumbing works, the economy's bad, okay? But you're doing okay, your family's doing okay. They make enough money to get by, and hey, if an emergency happens, you know, they'll probably be okay, right? So if this is the case, you're probably not going to be going out like buying like new Louis Vuitton handbags 2 times a day. You're probably not going to be going out buying like a bunch of Rolexes. You're probably just trying to like stack some cash and save and continue forward. But so, you know, you're probably not going to be adding on to your house, right? You're probably not going to be like, hey, I'm going to, you know, invest that $100,000 to make a new story of my house. But if you're pooping in your toilet and then all of a sudden your toilet explodes and there's literal shit on your ceiling and you're living in literal shit, which is unsanitary, and then you're starting to get sick because you're living in literal shit because your toilet doesn't work and you don't know how to fix it, and you're never going to figure out how to fix it because, well, insert reasons here, you're going to call a plumber, right? Because you can't live in literal shit. Same thing for the medical field, except we're not talking about dealing with literal shit, right? Like if you're going to get sick, doesn't matter. Like if the economy's fucked up, even if you have to go into debt, I mean, if you have like a loved one or yourself and you want to save your life, you don't want to get worse. I mean, you'll take out a loan if you have to, right? You'll find a way. You use your health insurance, you'll use your savings. But the medical field, guys, I mean, I don't know how redundant I can get on that. Cody Moose in the Who says the cloud will eat the world. Perhaps, my friend, perhaps, Cody, perhaps it already has. What are some realistic starting salaries for software developers? Okay, good question, man. So if you want to tell me in the chat, tell me 3 things, and I can give you a specific answer, and then I can also give like a general answer too. Is it going to be remote? And whether or not, if it is or is not going to be remote, what location would you be living at the time you're working? Okay. And then also, is your starting developer job, is it like in a niche developer category? So are you going to be like, hey, I'm going to be a front end developer. I'm going to be a full stack developer, which I guess isn't really niche, right? That's like, it's just a title, but you're going to be doing like the whole thing. Are you going to be a back-end engineer? Are you going to be a like Python data collection engineer? Are you going to write scripts for Python data collection? Those, I can give you a more general one for your specific situation. But in general, let's put this up in a couple different categories. So if you are in a kind of like cheaper area to live, and the company, and let me actually take a step back first and tackle this. Let me tackle this first too, okay? So there's 2 different ways of thinking that these companies deal with paying people from location to location, okay? Companies either say 1 or A, we're going to pay everybody for the same title, like regardless whether or not they're in Uganda or if they're in New York City, we're going to pay them the same for the same exact title, okay? Without getting into like the specific reasons and whether or not you think that is right or wrong, me personally, I because of some literal facts that I've seen, I would think that's the better way to go. And so if a company did that, I would feel like that company is probably a better company to be at. But that's a different story for a different time. But then there's the second way of thinking, and it's like, hey, if the people are in a cheaper area, then we're going to have to pay it. We're going to give them a cost of living like adjustment. So the cost of living adjustment isn't just going to be for cheaper areas. It's also going to be for like more expensive areas too. So you could be at the same company, and if you're remote, even if you're remote, if you're like a you know a junior front end web developer in California and you have someone on your team who's basically like doing the same exact thing, same exact title, the junior front end developer in California, their starting salary, they could be making 105, 115, even like 150. And if you're in like, I don't know, Jackson, Mississippi, you could be making like 70, 75, 85, maybe 100 on the upper side, but you guys could be at the same company. Okay. On average, if you are going to be like a just like general software developer, so it's they kind of give you like a generic title, you can expect anywhere between like the 70-ish range to like 115 range at more the higher end, where 70 is like the lower-ish end, and then 115 is going to be the higher end. There's obviously, you could get a little bit less than that, and you could also get more than that too. I mean, if you're working for FANG, you could be well over like 200, 300,000 for your junior, quote unquote, junior level positions, but not everyone's gonna be working at a FANG company or wants to, right? And then if you are gonna be like a more like skilled, like niche position, which might necessitate like basically something that's going to be harder to find someone to do the position that you're trying to fill, you can kind of add like 5 to like 15% to those numbers too. But in all honesty, $70K for a starting level position, that's kind of like low nowadays, especially considering like inflation. And I know, statistically speaking, the numbers are increasing. I just don't know an exact number that they're increasing at. I mean, most recently, like some of the guys that I've seen from my group that have gotten entry level jobs, it's still been in kind of that range. It's still been in like the 70 to like 115 for beginner entry level jobs. Okay. Now, one thing to consider too, like if the job itself is actually going to be a good job, and I know this isn't what you asked for, but I know that the reason you're asking this question is because that's like something that you're thinking about, but I want to make sure that you're also thinking about something else that's important too. So even if you only get like, let's just say like 75, 80K for your entry level software developer job for the first year, and you were shooting for the 100K mark. Everybody's shooting for the 100K mark, and like that's understandable, right? I get it, but just because like maybe you see 2 or 3 of your friends get that first 100K job, and you get depending on your situation, if you get like 70, 75, 85K job for your entry level position, you can use that job. You're going to get a bullet point on your resume. You're going to get experience, and yeah, you're going to get some pay for it, right? Like 70K is like basically like way more than like most people in the United States make for a living. So you're not going to be like, you're not going to be like, driving a Bentley or anything that first 6 months that you're working, but you're also not going to have a problem paying your bills. 6 months to a year later, once you got all that, like, dude, you'll be solid. Like that first job is the hardest one. Once you get your foot in the door, it's a lot easier, and the amount of money that you're going to get is going to be a lot higher because these places know where you're working. They're going to get an idea of what you're getting paid for, and they're going to try to like scalp you as talent. They're like, hey, this guy, he's already learned for a year, so now we don't have to like take a risk of training him for a year and possibly like losing some money, because anytime when you start a developer position, especially if it's your first developer job ever, these companies know that your first 6 to 12 months, you're going to basically be like, you are an investment to them. They have to pump their money into you. They're probably not going to get like even 75K worth of actual like work out of you. Seriously. So I would still take it depending on your situation. Now, if you were like a fucking brilliant coder, and it was like your first offer and it was the first interview that you first place you interviewed at, I probably wouldn't take it. I would just say, I would be like, hey, let's just wait like 2 or 3 more weeks or whatever, a month or 2, and just hold out, and something else will come up because you're smart. But I mean, if you're just average Joe in that case, take that into consideration. And then crash. The cloud is going to eat the world and crash. Gotta hope not. There are no excuses for that. My father taught me everything, but it is a must to have a toolbox. And if you don't know how to, use YouTube. Yeah, good point, dude. You can pretty much figure out how to do almost anything on YouTube nowadays, right? Like the last like 3 or 4 things that I've like either fixed or like installed, like I didn't have to like ask anybody how to do it. I just straight up went to YouTube. And yes, Ruthless, good evening to you too. Remote, mainland, United States, front end. Okay. Then you're going to probably be like, okay, for that exact situation, I think aiming for like 90 would be perfectly fine, dude. You might shoot a little bit less than that. You might shoot a little bit more than that. You might get that 100. You might get 105. Well, actually, dude, If it wasn't front end, if it was anything else but front end, I would say you probably can realistically expect 100K. But since it is front end, another thing too, take into consideration, and I don't want to keep going off a tangent, but I want to make sure that I get this out of me because I want to say it, I want to express it. Another thing too, you gotta be careful with, dude. Some of these places, they'll try to hire people for front end developers as their entry career because they know that it's cheaper, right? And they know that they're gonna they're able to find people with less experience. The amount of pool of people that they can choose from to do front end stuff is gonna be larger, right? And they'll tell you that you're gonna be doing front end, but you're really gonna be anytime you do front end stuff, it's a secret, but it's not really the biggest secret ever. You're eventually going to have to touch something else other than just the front end. Just trust me, right? Trust me. So hopefully that's not something that they corner you into doing. And then you're basically just a full stack developer, or you're just a straight up software developer, expected to do everything that a software developer would do and not getting the pay for it. So just be careful with that. Yes. Smash the like, says Self-Taught Hustle. Yes, indeed. Thank you very much. Yeah, dude. No problem, man. No problem at all. So another medical field, right? Once again, another medical field position, a physician. So, I think we're getting pretty obvious here with this, right? It says the U.S. is expected to have a shortfall of as many as 139,000 physicians by 2033, according to a 2020 report. I wonder why that is. I really do wonder why that is, but I think that they're kind of answering that question. I think they're kind of give the answer now to that question, and it would make sense to me too. It says, while becoming a physician requires a significant investment in college and medical school, it should pay off for that job that provides good income. So, okay, boom. And that's something I forgot about too. I didn't even think about that. That's important to note because, okay, to be a physician, which is essentially you're a doctor. You have to what? Graduate high school. And you got to get your undergraduate degree. So that takes anywhere between 3 to 5 years, right? Also anywhere between and you're definitely probably going to pay over $100,000 in 2020, 2022, 2023 for a college degree. I'm sorry. They can spoof the statistics all they fucking want. Even if your tuition is $8,000 a semester. First of all, it's with everything that you end up paying on the dotted line on the balance sheet that you have to pay to your school, it's going to be more than $8,000. All right. Even if they're just saying the tuition's $8,000, but $8,000 is cheap for a semester of even a public college these days. So it's probably going to be more than that at the bottom line. You also got to take your books into consideration. You have to take travel if you're not going to school that's in the direct city that you're living in at the time. You also got to think about food, room and board, and everything else associated with it. So, and that's not just for a semester, that's for the whole damn thing. And most people, guys, dropout rates are pretty high, the first 1 or 2 semesters of a freshman's year. So you got to get past all that. And then you got to go to medical school, right? Which costs even more money and takes even more time. And then after that, you have to do the whole, I don't know if it's 1 or 2 years of residency. Maybe it's more or less than that. I don't know. I got a friend who's still going through his residency right now. And so if you were a responsible enough adult to where the second that you turned 18, you knew exactly what you were going to do. And at 18, you didn't change your mind by the time that you were 32 or whatever, whenever you finished all of it. You had to go all the way to the end without changing your mind, without ever failing anything. Well, obviously you could fail something, you have to retake it, but the time's going to get pushed back and the amount of money it's going to cost is going to get pushed back, right? So, that I think is probably might be contributing as to why there's going to be a shortage of them, right? College used to not be that expensive, guys. And the reason why it wasn't that expensive was, 1, it was harder to get into. You actually had to be smart to go to college. And 2, it wasn't this whole money suck thing. It was incentivized for people that were going to do it. We're going to be the kind of I guess you could say, not the intellects, but people who were going to be recognized in their field, authority figures in their field. Now, and everyone else didn't. You didn't have to. You would be perfectly okay. You could definitely make a life of your own, have the American dream. Have 6 kids, buy a Corvette and a boat, have a wife that doesn't work, cooks and loves you and cleans all day and everything's perfectly fine with the 6 kids because you can afford all of it. Can't do that anymore. So now everyone thinks you have to go to college. Like the market has basically increased the price because that's just how things work. And thus things like this happen. And we should have more doctors, right? Like that whole situation is just kind of screwy. Is it not? George says, this is motivating. In my work, every 3 weeks they hire, but as soon as they saw crap, they walked out, or after 24 hours, they quit the hospital. Really, this space has lots of potential. So why is that, Gerard? Why do you think? Because I know that you're in the medical field and I know what you do, but since you're in there and you can see the stuff, why do you think that people like the turnover rate? I'm noticing this everywhere. Okay, like the turnover rate is everywhere for every city, every type of field, because I think that's a people problem and I think it's a society problem, but specifically in the medical, there's other problems too, right? So specifically in the medical field, Gerard, tell me in the chat, please, why you think that is. And if it's like something that shouldn't be said on the tubes of you, if you know what I mean, then like just write it in code speak or something like that. Roy says, who wants to do 8 years of schooling to become a doctor anymore? Yeah, exactly, dude. Exactly, man. Exactly. I get it. For the first 5 years, you're not making money and doing physician. And if you want to specialize another 5 years, dude, you have amazing loads of loans. Yeah. And then you get out and then and then after that, you probably, in order to get like zeroed out on those loans, in order to get those loans paid out, it's probably another like 10 years on top of that. Right. So like, yeah, I get it. Spending a lot of money, just orienting a lot of money spend. Residency. Yeah. But this is an oxymoron, isn't it? Isn't it? But when that stuff happens, it causes things like this. Shortages of physicians, right? This one surprised me. So a speech language pathologist was considered to be one of the 20 most recession-proof jobs. And it says speech language pathologists are expected to see a 25% job growth through 2029. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the coronavirus shouldn't impact... Fuck, I said it. Fuck. I said it. Oops. Oh, well. The cuckoo shouldn't impact the need for these professionals, although workers may have had to adjust how they've delivered services in the past year. 4 in 10 pathologists work in educational services sector, and when classes are out of session, speech language therapy may have occurred via telemedicine. Okay, so okay, so I don't know, man. I hope I don't offend anybody by saying this. All right, look, I'll undoubtedly say it. I went to a speech pathologist when I was a child. I hardly remember it, because there was like 2 things that I would like. I think 3. The word free, FREE, and then the word three, THREE. I would say them the same, and I believe that my parents sent me there as a recommendation for my school because they were like, yo, this boy can't say 2 of the same words. Fix him. Right. But I think that that's like a kind of like a luxury, right? Like, I don't see a majority of like families, unless they can afford like a speech pathologist. And I don't think it's like super expensive, right? It's probably just like the same as probably maybe, I don't know, $25 a session. I don't know. I'm probably talking to my ass. I have no idea what much that costs. I couldn't see that costing like several $1,000s like a year, but that doesn't make sense to me as to why this is in here. And that's why it surprised me, but nonetheless, it does. However, the one thing that I could think of is that somebody that I know, I'll just say somebody that I know who previously was in child education, in like elementary school education, has expressed to me and other people that they have seen children like today seeming as if they are, it's like a little bit harder for them to do things like speak and write and add. So if that is true, and I also know someone else too, that is someone that I know pretty well, who also works with young children, and they pretty much told me the same thing. The other person is not in education. They're more in like the healthcare area of like dealing with children, but both parties express that to me. So if that's true, then hey, maybe that's why. But nonetheless, this happens to be one of the top 20 recession-proof jobs. So if that's being a speech language pathologist is something you want to do, might not be a bad time to get started in it, my friends. It might not. What we got next up here is this lovely advertisement. And then after the advertisement, we got a veterinarian. So this one to me, so here's what it says. As people stayed home during the pandemic, many choose to add four-legged friends to their families. So pet adoptions at rescues and shelter went up 15% in 2020. Okay. I did hear that like pet adoptions went up, but I also heard that the amount of dogs and animals that were getting abandoned afterwards also went up. So I don't know. That's kind of like, I don't know. But if people were buying more pets, well, there you go. And like people that have dog, I got a dog, right? I love my spotted ass crocodile dog. He's kind of annoying, but I mean, if he had like a some kind of accident and I had to pay lots of money to make sure he was going to be okay, trust me, I would do that. I would do that because he's like one of the family. So it's basically, we're going to say this in like the healthcare field still too, right? It's like animal healthcare field. And you know what? We'll also say the speech language pathologist was in the healthcare field too, because it's kind of like, right? RIP stream. About to get the banner of shame. Oh no! Roy F says, I may be biased, but I believe more and more folks, especially due to recent events, are skeptical of Western medicine, and it's not seen as that glamorous anymore. This is me doing my God, what's that guy's name? My Leonardo DiCaprio like gif, doing the cheers where he like tilts his head. Tilt the head, cheers. Cheers to you. And that's definitely a possibility, right? Here's the thing. Here's how I'll tell you how I feel about that. Although you guys might not give a fuck about how I feel personally about that. Like, I think that medicine is very important. I just think that Western medicine, as you say, we'll just say it like this. It has strayed very far away from its original intention, right? Because like the medical field is supposed to be like, I feel like maybe it's not supposed to be by definition, and I'm not a doctor, so I don't know what I'm talking about, but I feel like it should be primarily based on like being preventative, right? Instead of like treating after the fact, right? Like I feel like it would be better if people were preventative about keeping themselves healthy than to be reactive after the fact, and they have to fix it. And I think that kind of, I'm alluding to what you're saying right there. I think that's kind of like, yeah. Turns out 2 years of covering faces screwed with people's communication development. Yeah, go figure, right? Who would have thunk that? That's true. I read an article. I read several articles about that, and I heard a podcast talking about that too. And it's kind of sad, dude. It's kind of really sad. Yeah, that's like actually really sad, dude. Alex says, I think Allie, Real Femme Sapiens' husband, is a nurse assistant, or it is a physician assistant, but makes good money. She's a happy housewife. Yep. Yeah. Roy F., my parents' neighbors' kids have speech problems. A lot of kids grew up with their phones, even as infants, and don't develop the skills as much belief. Yeah. Probably yet another reason contributing to having like basic communication issues, right? Christian Soda says 300 for find out Jeffrey was fake coughing when I first got him from the vet to find out that he was fake coughing. What was he doing? Like choking on a ball or something? Cody Moose agrees with you, Roy. At my work, says Gerard, not enough staff to keep quitting people, asking for raises. Company denied it. The newcomers offered way more, but keep quitting. So, all right, what you're saying, Gerard, is you're basically saying that companies are doing the same thing that they do, the typical thing they do. So the original people, what you're saying is they were dealing with probably a lot of stress and they wanted a raise, and the company would not give them a raise, so they left. And then instead of giving the original people a raise, they hired new people and offered them way more, which is probably going to cost them more money than it would be to just have given the original people a raise. And then those people aren't staying either. That's That's how that works, man. I could see that being part of the reason contributing to why, like, the medical worker shortage. I totally understand that. Hey, I've talked about this plenty of times in the stream, guys. Like, I know it from personal experience. Like, a company, you're not, if you're trying to level up financially, i.e., like you have a W-2 job and your idea is that you're going to move up in this W-2 job. So you're an employee for someone else. You're going to move up in the world by being really good at that company and being a good boy and getting all your good boy tokens. And they're going to give you really good raises continually until you're the CEO of the company. Literally, statistically speaking, metaphysically, seriously though, you're going to make more money by leaving and going to a different job. That's just how it works, because the way that these honk doesn't make sense. I know it doesn't make sense. So I would suggest that, you know, once you've experienced, and it is good, especially if you're like an IT and you're a developer or something like that. It is good to experience different areas of the industry and also different industries, period. And you kind of can like get a feel of like what you want to do. It's like developer is an example. Like, do you want to work for the telecom industry? Maybe that's not your thing. Maybe you try it for a year or two and it's like, hey, that's not my thing. Maybe I'll try finance, and you start being an engineer for like finance companies, right? You're not going to be happy because you're going to continue to see if the money is the thing, and you're going to continue to see new people get hired in. They're going to be getting offered more money than you because, well, like, even though the dollar technically is getting stronger by design, literally by the Fed, inflation still isn't like going away, right? Like, we're having deflationary pressure in an inflationary environment. Honk, honk. I know, makes no sense. You're still going to have to deal with inflation. Things are still going to cost more. And like, if you start working at a company in 2020 or in 2010, the entry-level salary, kind of like someone was asking earlier in the stream, like, what's the entry-level salary? Like, every year, the entry-level salaries, like, the norms are going to get a little bit higher. And you've been working there since 2010, and someone else starts working there in 2022, same position, same experience, starting out, they're probably gonna make like 10, 20, 30 grand more than you were when you're starting there, right? So unless you actually are in like an industry that you like are really passionate about, and the amount of money they're getting is like, hey, like, I could live with or without this money because I got other things going on, then like you're just gonna probably be inclined to do that. Even you're gonna be inclined to job hop, even if you don't know that that's the reason why. It's just going to manifest itself. That sounds stupid, but hey, personal experience, seeing it happen to a bazillion people. Roy, Gerard agrees with you too. He says you hit the nail on the head. Jeffrey just loved all the attention I was giving from the vet. Yeah, dude. I mean, vets are expensive, right? Vets are expensive, which is why that was in there. So not surprised about that, right? What else we got here? IT manager. IT managers can earn six-figure salaries with only a bachelor's degree. They don't even need a bachelor's degree, although it's going to help. But most cases, right? Like, most cases, it's going to help. And well, we know someone. I keep saying we because I don't know who is in this live chat right now, other than like the couple people are talking about. I know someone who they have a bachelor's degree, but it's definitely not an IT related field. They're an IT manager. It says the field boasts low unemployment and strong future growth, making this a good option for anyone seeking stable jobs. So this is another one of the top 20. I have some like, I have some things that would make me agree with that, and I also have some things that make me disagree with that. Like, here's the thing: if you're going to be a manager, like an IT manager, and like you don't even know like how like the telecommunications technology that you're specifically like the team you're managing is working on works at like a fundamental level or even like a high level, like you could consider that yourself to be redundant. But if you were originally in the trenches and you kind of worked your way there, you're going to be relevant because you're going to have a better understanding. And if you're basically, what I'm saying, guys, is if the difference between being like an adult babysitter versus like the one who has the ability who's got the magic. They have the ability to organize, and they've been there, done that. Like things are going to be more efficient. People are going to be more efficient with that kind of person, right? That's when I think that's going to be like that. That's what makes this position relevant. But what would I say would make it irrelevant? Well, if and when it comes to time for more like third-party intermediary kind of like babysitting-esque things in the world to be redundant, which we might not get there this year for sure with all this stuff going on. Although that's 50-50, and that's also a different topic for a different day. If and when that happens, like I said, if you don't have the gunpowder to back up your stuff, well, you might find yourself relevant. Nonetheless, top 20 recession-proof jobs, IT manager. But again, so we were basically so far all medical, and then all what? IT field, right? Physical therapy assistant. So what, guys? Another medical field, right? And then we got anesthesiologist, medical field, right? This one, substance abuse and behavioral disorder counselor. I shouldn't laugh. This one is also, I'm going to say this is medical. I mean, basically it's like mental health, right? And I guess, some like substances you can get physically like addicted to, right? Like you can have physical withdrawals. I believe if you're an alcoholic, like if you stop drinking alcohol, you can have literal withdrawals, right? So this is like in the health department. I'm going to say that this was kind of like poised at people having like lots of like substance abuse and mental issues during the shmamic, the coof, you know what I mean? That's not so much the case anymore, but people got like less free flowing money right now to be able to spend on things that might be considered like a luxury. And I don't know. I'm not going to say whether we would consider this to be a luxury or a necessity. You consider that either or, right? But if you would be considering it to be a luxury kind of thing, and people have less free flowing money, I don't know if when like the economy is not doing good and we would be in a recession, if that would be something that people would be spending extra money on. However, to play devil's advocate to myself, I would say that kind of like how we were talking earlier in the chat about how people kind of got a little bit strange after not having human interaction for a little bit. I think that's true. It looks like I see it. Maybe I'm looking for it for the last 2 years. Maybe I've just been looking for it and I see it all the time. But if that is the case, then you could expect the percentage of people that would need them to go up and to increase, right? Next, we got occupational therapists. So another health field related job, right? Marriage and family therapist, basically just kind of like this one, but the substance abuse therapist, 2 different positions ago. Same spiel. Okay. I feel the same way about that one. Physical therapist. Oh, but let me go back. Also, we're going to consider this being a medical field. Physical therapist, medical field. Orthotist and prosthesist. Orthotist. It's not orthodontist. Orthotist and prosthesist. Orthotists and prosthesists help people become more independent by designing, creating, and fitting patterns with artificial limbs. Okay, so people that make the medical parts for those types of surgeries and things. Medical field, yet again. Mechanical engineer. We're going to say this is not in the IT field, but nonetheless, it is in the engineering wheelhouse, right? Like literally, it's a mechanical engineer. It says not all stable jobs are in the field of medicine. Mechanical engineers have another occupation that has low unemployment. I don't know whether or not this would. You're always going to need mechanical. You're always going to need people that aren't dumb and know what they're doing to be mechanical engineers, right? The people who are the builders of the building blocks of the physical building blocks of our society, right? But I'm wondering how much that would be affected with oil and gas industries. And quite frankly, we don't really have any in America, at least, we have very few actual manufacturing output anymore. Although I'm willing to, I think that's going to change soon. So for the interim, I might not be so agreeable with this, but I'd say anything like 5 years plus afterwards, I would be bullish on this type of job, right? Cartographer. So cartographers who are map makers sound like they have an old school occupation. However, this job is decidedly high tech. They may use a variety of image tools to create digital online interactive maps as websites. Okay, so and apps increasingly need mapping features, blah, blah, blah. This is pretty important. And like, as long as we're going to have tech and IT, that's going to be integrating things like how many apps. Okay, I can pull up. Let me do a Google search real quick. Top 10 apps. Store. Let's do App Store. So, sorry, Android people. All right. Top 10 apps, App Store. Minecraft? What? Hold on a second, guys. Hold on. Okay, let's do this. Let's do paid. Or no, let's look at free. Let me look at free. Hold on, guys. I'll pull this up for you guys. I will pull it up. Here you go. Okay, so we look at top apps. I've never seen this app before, so let's just get rid of these two. TikTok, you use your location. It says needed. Korea map. What is the? Sorry, guys. Cartographer, fancy distinguished title. You're gonna need that for TikTok. I mean, they need that because if you need to have a place that you can tag your location. Jackpot lottery app. I don't know about that either. YouTube, yes. Google, yes. Instagram, yes. WhatsApp, yes. Google Maps, 100% yes. What the entire map is based out of. Google email, I'm not so sure about that. Facebook, yes. Telegram, I don't think Telegram can access your location. Snapchat, yes. Messenger, yes. Amazon Shopping, yes. McDonald's, yes. So, I mean, not every single app in the top 10, and we just got all the 20, but quite a few of them, I would say, would necessitate that, right? And I think if you were to say that you're a cartographer, people would be like, what the fuck is that? You'd be pretty cool to say that, right? Pretty cool, right? But we'll put that in IT or tech. Diagnostic medical sonographer. So this is kind of one where we have like an intertwining of like kind of like the tech field and then also a medical field, I guess. Alex says, any engineering requires C++. I heard, yep. Because, I mean, a majority, like, okay, software has embedded itself in everything, right? You all know that because everybody uses a computer in one way, shape, or form. Even if you don't have a phone or a literal computer, but you have a car, your car's got a computer in it. If it's anything newer than a 1991 model, it's got a computer. And it's just embedded itself in everything, right? And why has it done that? To make people's lives easier. Technology is deflationary by nature. It makes it's supposed to increase productivity. I think that some of it has been taken to like a different area where it's increased degeneracy, but in order to increase productivity, we use it to work, we use it with our jobs, we use it to increase our efficiency and our output. And yeah, like regular engineers are going to be using software to do some of the stuff that they do, right? Ranu says, are there trade schools that can teach these things so we don't have to get a degree? For like, which one in particular? I mean, obviously not like a physician, right? Because you have to literally go through medical school and do your residency to do that. But I know like phlebotomy is on here. We didn't get there yet. I know like you can be a phlebotomist if you don't even need to do a trade school. Like you can just go take like 1 or 2 semesters worth of classes, and then you have to take a test. I believe that your test is you literally draw blood from somebody, and that's it. So we got this guy. We'll put this in both tech and then also kind of like the medical field. It's a medical field that uses tech to do stuff, right? People are always going to be having babies. However, well, I won't say that on this. Shh. Be good, Josh. Be good. Phlebotomist. Here we go. With rock bottom unemployment and strong job growth projections, becoming a phlebotomist is another option for those seeking stable careers. Now, like a phlebotomist, I remember like 5 years ago, I knew someone who did this, and they did this prior to them becoming a nurse. this was kind of like the thing to hold them over, and because it was a good job, it was a good resume boost, and just like kind of in that field, right? They were doing the right thing. They were kind of trying to work in their way into the field. It was about this, but it was a little bit more than that. And this was in the state of Louisiana. So I don't know. I mean, again, median salary. I prefaced at the beginning of the stream, but Rihanna, here you go. Phlebotomist. You can do that. You could just go to trade school to do that. I mean, technically not even trade school. It's actually less than a trade school. Surgeon, medical field. I don't think I need to spend a lot of time explaining that. Chiropractor. We're going to say like medical field, although people in the medical field would consider chiropractors to be like, they're not a real doctor. Chiropractors are useful. I don't know how many people are going to need their backs adjusted that just go there just because they're like, hey, I'm an athlete and I just want to get it done regularly. If it was a recession, as opposed to, someone that actually has like severe back issues, and on top of all the other like medical treatments they have, they kind of need to go to a chiropractor because it makes them feel like they can move out of bed. That would probably still be necessitated in a time of recession. And then that's all of them listed together. So there you go, guys. And let me zoom in on that so you guys can see if you're catching the replay and you just wanted to pause. Make sure you get that nice and cropped. Yeah, there you go. There's we go. So yeah, it's pretty much like a hodgepodge of software, IT, and medical field. Now, I think that this might be a little overly biased towards the medical field. Like, can they put mechanical engineering in there? I mean, the medical field, everyone, medical shortage, blah, 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 medical worker shortage, blah, blah, blah. We all know that, right? But like I was saying before, like you're still going to need fucking plumbers. You still need mechanical engineers to build things. I would say like law enforcement, I would think would be kind of like necessitated even during recession. Probably more so in a recession because more crime is going to be occurring. So like no mentions of law enforcement in there. And then like really just like trade fields, like plumber I mentioned, electrician, anything that's a quote unquote hard skill, like a blue collar skills. And something I was thinking to myself today, and I don't know if I've said this before, but like what are blue collar skills, like blue collar jobs, like plumbers, electricians, firemen, etc. Those are kind of like hard skills. Not everybody knows. Very few people know how to do them. Every day that goes by, less and less people do. What else is a hard skill? Like software development, especially to be able to do it good, and especially for specific nuanced things. But that's not a blue collar skill. I would say that's a white collar, quote unquote, white collar skill, right? But something I was thinking about today is like software development is like the most blue collar, white collar skill, because you when you get in the nitty gritty of it, you actually do have to like, you're building things and you're like kind of using the same gears in your head if you were like kind of build a car. Not always. And there's a lot of more complexity on top of that, especially when it comes like doing stuff like designing. Like I know I was watching Fido's stream last night and he was talking about like when you go from being like hey, I'm a W-2 employee to like having to go do an entire project on your own, like literally not with like a small team, like on your own. And you're responsible for like the development of like the design and all that stuff. Like you got to do that stuff too, right? So yeah, copywriting too. Copywriting. I don't know if copywriting would be like a super strong. And I mean, there's always going to be businesses that need to advertise, right? So like, and there's always things that need to be written, right? But I don't know if it's going to be like if it would be as strongly of like a necessitated field in a time of recession. I could be wrong. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying that it's not. I'm just saying that I don't know. But I don't think you're talking about specifically Ranu in the recession. I think you're just giving examples, right? Because of what I had said. So I wonder if you guys agree with that. You don't even have to let me know. You don't know, you don't have to let me know, but I would like someone to let me know whether or not it's through a DM or if you catch us in the replay, leave in a comment. Which one of these did you disagree with? And which one did you if something stuck out to you and you're like, hey, veterinarian, I don't know if that's going to be a necessitated thing. Let me know. Because for the most part, like I said, some of them are a little biased in some areas, but I would say like most of them guys, they're necessitated indeed. Okay. Necessitated indeed. In New York City, the tradesmen at a job site on average make way more than engineers unless they are direct level or above. Foremen can make over 200K. Yeah, dude. And like it's not
glamorous to be considered to be a foreman.
Like, right? But like imagine how many like people that are in like generic finance making like 60, 70K a year in an expensive city like New York, and they're like, oh, I'm a finance guy. And like meanwhile, like Joe Dirt and the foreman is actually like racking stacks of 200K a year over there. Probably has pretty good health insurance too, because he's doing some kind of like dangerous stuff. It's not glamorized. It's not cool, man. So guys, society is in for a very rude awakening, I believe. I believe it has already started. And, well, I won't be Doomer Josh tonight. I will not be Doomer Josh tonight. However, I will be self-advertisement Josh tonight. And since we were talking about things in the IT field, if you guys are not familiar, developerdirection.com, go and figure it out what it is. I'm not going to sit here and spend all day talking about it. Yes, but if you do actually need help with trying to figure out what you need to get on your GitHub portfolio, if you do sign up for the email list, you will receive, I apologize for my phone going off, you will receive the GitHub guide. Pretty helpful. It'll give you at least 6 like base level projects that you should get up on there before you start worrying about building anything else out. And the way that I labeled them, the way that I chose them was like, it's a widespread. It is a very widespread, and they cover almost every, okay? Almost. Don't tell me that there's no like machine, but you're not doing goddamn legit programming, not software development, like programming chipsets and all that stuff. Almost everything that you would consider to have be able to get a job in the field, all the things that are needed for software development. So this area, that area, you get those 6 done, you have at least like a solid foundation for your GitHub portfolio, and then you put some baby powder on your butt, pop it off, head on out to the application round. There you go. So guys, as always, learn to code, learn to change your own tire, self-custody your crypto. Fuck you, Celsius. I hate you, Alex Machinsky. Link in the description box below for all the above, except for changing the tire, because, well, I haven't done that yet for you guys. See ya.